So for anybody listening or watching, we took a lunch break. We've had a bit of a break.
We've had a break.
Because when we did this deep dive, we were like, we have to keep to time. And naturally, because Michelle is so freaking interesting and has so much amazing stuff to say, we ran over. So we are toying about whether we make it 2 episodes or a really long episode. So welcome back.
Welcome back from lunch. We've been enjoying looking through some comments and some feedback.
Yes. So we are doing an episode where we talk about the unreal feedback. But we were only just saying recently, God, we haven't really had any hate. Because that was the first thing we thought. Everyone was preparing us for the hate.
Negative comments.
But yeah, we got our first bit of hate. Woo!
First troll.
And her name, or his name, was not Karen.
Her name is Danny James.
Her name is Danny James. It's actually a he. Is it
Yeah,
he?
it's a he.
Right.
Danny James.
What does Danny James have to say?
Thank you, Danny, for the feedback.
What? No, go on. What did he say?
They need to make podcasting equipment more expensive. It's expensive enough, you little
I
shit.
know, bastard. But also, Isla, who works on our studio, was having lunch with us, and she's like, God, do they not have something better to say? Because she says that exact comment is over all the podcast page. Like they just copy and paste it and just go around trolling. Like,
get a job.
Do you not have anything fucking better? Go and have a wank.
Yeah.
Have a wank. Because like it sounds like
Get
you
off
need
our
it.
Motherloading page.
Yeah.
It's about womanhood. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Too much scrotum to be writing on our page. Right, Nikki, we're going to do a little deep dive with you now.
Oh, God. I just said there, I was like, fuck's sake, like Michelle, and in a nice way, is way more interesting. You talk about sobriety, manifestation. I literally just get through the day.
No, well, I beg to differ.
Thank you, my love. Thank you, my love.
First of all, something that I don't think we've touched on. I might have mentioned it in one of our other episodes that our listeners might not know about you. I don't think it's going to come as a surprise that you've been on something like this because you are so driven and you're so confident and you're so successful that when I heard this, it kind of wasn't a surprise to me, but you came second on the Irish Apprentice.
Oh, fuck. I was waiting for this. And I forget about it sometimes. And then, like, all of a sudden, Mark will just introduce me to somebody and say it. And I'm like, but firstly, it was 17 years ago. And Mark's such a dick. He's like, well, it doesn't really count because it was the Irish Apprentice. And I was like, well, I think you might find a whole nation of people may not agree with that. Of course it counts. Yeah. They absolutely don't. I'm a below a Z-lister. Yeah, kind of crazy. 17 years ago. And I mean, there is no internet evidence, thank God, because it was that long ago.
Oh, I'm gutted about that.
The
I'd
only
love to be able to see it.
I know there is some really awfully embarrassing clips that people who obviously were trying to be progressive at the time like took an interview on their phone, and I'm hungover and I have this like neck scarf on and I just look ridiculous. There's some really bad pictures. The only thing that was around then, and social media wasn't around either, but it was the time of blogging when blogging first started. So like whether it was Facebook or whatever the blog was called, and I remember taking it really personally back at the time because I was only young. I was 24, 25, I think. And this one guy put up and was like, I mean, fake tan was a big thing back then. Yeah. And they were like, Donatella Versace called and she wants her permatan back.
See, the trolls have always been around.
They're always been around. But I think I didn't do it for the TV part. And actually the TV part really freaked me out, and they do edit it a lot. Now, all the stuff around The Apprentice is true in the sense of you are locked in a house for the length of time that you're there, which was 3 months for me.
Wow.
Yeah. And you live with the people that you're doing it with. You don't get any money. You get one phone call a week, which is supervised. Yeah, it's crazy. So all of that stuff actually exists. And like the phone call in the morning when someone really tired picks up the phone and goes, hello. Yeah, that happens.
Wow.
Yeah, it is weird. But
what an experience.
It was an amazing experience. And I think looking back now, like people were just like, why would you do that? And genuinely, I felt it then, and I still feel the exact same now, that I have to do these kind of crazy, wacky things when I'm feeling overly comfortable and content, and not in a good way. Like when I'm not motivated, and I was just a bit lost. I was in a job that I was just kind of could do with my eyes closed. I didn't really know what I was going to do. And The Apprentice really taught me that what I was capable of. That actually you don't need to tick all the boxes in a job application form. Often you just need a bit of cop on. You need to work extremely hard. You need to learn super quick. You need to take criticism. And I think that's when you're young, you struggle to take criticism. You
Yes.
get quite defensive. You don't understand the difference between criticism and constructive criticism.
Right.
And then failing, publicly failing as well, and having to get back up. And very much from that moment on, cared less what people thought about me. And when I went into it, I cared a lot about what people thought about me. A lot.
That's a huge thing.
So I was really afraid of it coming out. Like, there were times I couldn't even watch the episode. I used to get in the car and I would say to my ex-husband, "You watch it and tell me how bad it was afterwards." And like, then I'd get the phone call and sometimes he'd be like, "Yeah, don't watch it." And I'd be like, "Oh God." And they'd made me out to be the crier. So in every episode I would be crying.
Imagine you crying.
I know, because like they would just take bits. Like they have to build a character and build a story and all the rest. But yeah, I mean, it was a really, really crazy experience. But it taught me from that moment onwards that actually don't let anybody tell you can't do something, because I didn't know half of the shit I was doing in The Apprentice. But when you're in fight or flight, you just go and you learn and you move on the fly. And who would have known I came bloody second? Like, it was just phenomenal learning for me. A really, really, really strong learning. And that when you do something so out of your comfort zone, how powerful it can actually be for you. And also, sorry, just to go back to about ticking a job application form. Since then my career took off and I've hired people and been in leadership, part of our part of a key value within a lot of the companies I worked for was diversity in hiring. And we would meet with our talent acquisition teams and be like, we're not getting enough women, we're not getting enough people from a minority area, like why? And a lot of the time we were blaming them because they were just like naturally, there's more men in the workplace. They were saying, and I didn't know this, and it's an actual fact, that the way a woman's brain works is when they look at a job application online and it says, you need to have X, Y, and Z. If a woman does not basically tick 9 out of the 10 boxes, they're like, "Oh, can't apply for that job." Whereas a man will go, "Yeah, no, I tick 1 out of the 10 boxes. I'm going to apply for it anyway, and I'm going to ask for double the salary." That mindset that us as women need to stop thinking we can't do something, or because we strive for perfection that we have to tick all the boxes.
Yeah.
And doing The Apprentice made me realize, and that's why I was never really moving out of my comfort zone, because I just didn't think I could. I was like, well, I don't have experience in that. And I don't really know how to do that. I've never been a marketeer. I've never sold anything. And doing that made me realize, you don't actually need to have gone to uni to do any of that stuff. You just learn it. It's just cop on.
It's amazing that because I mean, now that I know you
Yeah.
more, it doesn't, you say like, if I'm feeling too comfortable, I'll do something.
Yeah.
Like, you could have done something less than The Apprentice.
No,
But
totally.
you're like, Apprentice it is.
Yeah. And I remember,
I love that.
and it's all about jumping on opportunity, and that's what I've really realized. And when I say I realized, it doesn't mean that you have to live your whole life and everything comes in reflection.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it obviously at the time too, that like the first job I ever got, like I started in property, and I mean, I was a dirty estate agent, because that's like a really dirty word. But I had no interest in a estate agency, and I actually had no idea what I was doing. But a friend of mine called and was like, "Listen, I've said I'd do this weekend job of showing houses or just handing out the brochures." We were 20 at the time, I think, or 21. She's like, "I'm really hungover. Will you do it for me, please?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." She was like, 50 quid in it for you. And I was like, "Grand, I'm there." So I went as Claire. And when I was looking around the room, I was like, people do really well in estate agents. Like, people have got nice cars outside. They seem very confident. I don't really know what I'm going to do in life. So I was like, I could do this. So I just watched everybody for about like 20 minutes. I took it all in. And I just went for it. And I was selling those houses like and I was only meant to be handing out the brochures. And I was like, come over here. So plot number 59, we've had a lot of interest on. And I was like, go, go, go. And this guy just watched me. And then I got to the end of the day and he just came up to me and he goes, you're not Claire, are you? And I was like, sorry? What? And he was like, I've been calling you Claire all day and you have not flinched. You've not turned your eye. You've not. And I was like, oh, I'm really sorry. And I thought I was in so much trouble.
And Claire doesn't say boo to a goose.
And he was just like, but who are you? Because you have just come in here like you
fucking own the place.
Like you own the place.
I love this.
And that's the thing. Like sometimes I'm not always like that. Like I have self-doubt. Like everybody, I'd self-doubt about The Apprentice. I'd self-doubt about that. But once you throw yourself in and you're like, I'm in here now.
Yeah.
It's
sink or swim.
Yeah, sink or swim. And you just kind of put a veil, like an actress, you just pretend to be someone. I'm not saying you pretend to be someone else. Like I'm confident in who I am. But when you're in your 20s, you often don't know fully who you are.
No, you
so
don't.
It's giving yourself the space to experiment a little bit.
And have like a little alter ego.
Yeah.
I find that too sometimes. So you were pretty young when you did that then?
Yeah.
So like what does success look like to you now that we're a little bit down the line?
So just, I suppose, to go back a little bit, we talk about this confidence, right? And we talk about being successful. And I've been really fortunate that I've had an amazing career. I work in tech. I've gone up the ladder.
You haven't been fortunate. You've worked your ass
I
off.
have worked my ass off, and I've had leadership roles. And I went from that estate agent job to being a chief commercial officer in a tech company. And people are like, what? And I've often said to you, and I've said to my counsellor, I talk openly about getting counselling since my journey with fertility and baby loss, and realising actually how powerful it is to have counselling full stop. And we talk about this need that sometimes I can't stop. Like the pressure I put on myself is definitely unhealthy sometimes. And a lot of it goes back to if you had mapped out this journey of my life back then and told people that I was incredibly organised, I was a type A personality, I had loads of ambition, they would be like, nah, that's not the Nicky I know. And they wouldn't be wrong. And that's why it made me feel really emotional when you were talking about that moment when you stood in the bath and you looked in the mirror, because actually in my early 20s, kind of my late teens, early 20s, I was really lost. Like dropped out of uni. I was partying all the time. I was making really crappy decisions. I wasn't confident in who I was at all. Like out and about with a few drinks, I'd be like, hey, but I was really uncomfortable in my skin and I had no idea where I was going. And I had one of those moments that you talked about where I just woke up and I was like, who the fuck are you? And this feels shit.
Yeah.
I feel so uncomfortable in my skin. I found like I couldn't look people in the eye. I was making some really shameful decisions, and not always drink related, just because I was an asshole.
Right.
And I thought to myself, where does this go? Like, if this keeps spiraling, I'm either going to end up like in jail or just. I don't even know. Even talking about it, I find it hard to articulate it because I had a really good upbringing and I was very fortunate. I had great education and I did well in school. I wasn't academic in the sense of I wasn't good at exams, but I was always smart and I was always doing things, putting myself out there, and I was always confident. But I just went through a phase.
Yeah.
And I found the phase was owning me and I was spiraling and I couldn't really get control. And I just thought, that's it. That is it. And from that moment, I remember saying to myself, I never, ever, ever want to feel as shit as I do right now. So every decision that I've made, and I've not always made the right decisions, and I've often failed, but I've thought to myself, and you've referenced this before about throwing yourself in with shaking legs. I will do that because that skin feels more comfortable than the skin of being unhappy. And actually when you throw yourself in, normally it just works out. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. But often when it doesn't, there's always someone watching. There's always someone watching without you knowing. And they see that like motivated, hardworking hustler, maybe clumsy and like making mistakes and like fumbling about the place, but they see something in you. And I've had so many people see things in me, and then all of a sudden, before I know it, that next opportunity is in front of me, and I haven't always had to like go for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just to kind of say, like, everything that's happened came from a place of absolute, I can't even say self-worth. There was no self-worth. I literally felt unworthy, and my confidence was just at an all-time low.
Well, and you had that as a kind of, you'd say, like your pivot point, your
Yeah.
kind of awakening.
I was like, that's it, no more.
So what was the first step that you took to kind of go down a different path, or that first kind of
So
thing
that being Claire. Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Claire. Love you,
Thanks,
Claire.
hon.
Being Claire was the first time I was like, let me
do this.
let me try this. Let me put myself out there and see
Love
what
that,
happens.
Nicky.
And then the job came. And then I got a bit comfortable in that. And I worked in that job for a very long time, and I learned a lot. And then it got to my late 20s, and again I was just super content, and I was not happy. And I'm not somebody who can make small incremental changes, because otherwise I sit in the fence and I get in my head too much. I have to go big or go home. I have to do something that is so out there and so, in inverted commas, what some would say unachievable, that it makes me just thrive, because I'm like, fuck, this is, what am I doing? Oh my God.
Is it kind of like you're addicted to the adrenaline that brings?
Yeah, probably.
Because maybe you stripped away, I'm not being like a therapist here. I think maybe. Because the decisions you were making at one point in your life that you say were quite reckless,
Yeah.
would have, in their own sense, given you kind of like bursts of adrenaline, that makes you feel almost uncomfortable when times are just plain sailing, because you need that spike of something exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I will work 20 out of 24 hours a day, or 24 out of 24 hours a day. If something has to get done, if I commit to something, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Because I've set myself that deadline. But a lot of that becomes learned behavior, or is that the term? But the thing that, when I was younger, is I could procrastinate quite a lot. And also what you said earlier about how when you can change something physical, it can change your responses to things in life, or your emotional. Like, still, as a 43-year-old woman, I have had conversations with some of my friends where I have said to them, I am really sorry for how I dealt with a certain situation. I am really ashamed that I wasn't there for you enough, or I didn't know what to do, so I just put my head in the sand and I ignored you, or I didn't give you the love and nurture and empathy that you deserved at that time, because I was too selfish. And often they're like, oh, don't be daft. It was years ago. But it is important for me to say that, because I do think about it. I do reflect back, and it drives you to just be a better person, But just, sorry, before we move on, something I meant to say at the beginning as well, a bit off topic. One of the things actually that also came up on The Apprentice, and I'm laughing because I just did it there a minute ago, and I'm interested to see if anyone has copped on about it in the pod. So we call it, I think you know of it now, we call it the Nictionary. Whereas,
I thought it was a Nickism.
Oh, you could say Nickism, okay. But we call it the Nictionary, where when I'm under pressure, or like we're doing a pod where you can't stutter, you have to keep talking, I'll just make up words. Or if I can't think of something, I'll make up a saying. I get all sayings wrong. So like, even my friend listened to the finance episode, and she sent me a voice note howling, because I meant to say to Amelia, I was like, oh yeah, I had that aha moment, but I said I had a ha-ha moment. And I remember in The Apprentice, we had this task where they told us we were presenting to 3 people in a room. We were working for a jewelry brand at the time. And when I opened the door to walk in, it was an auditorium of like 300 people. And obviously,
why would they do that to you?
Because they're doing it to fuck with you and like see how you respond. So I was like, eh. So I went up to the podium, and I did a great job, except on national TV, I was like, I meant to say we were astounded by the jewelry that we saw. What I actually said was we were outstanded by the jewelry that we saw the other day. But apparently, I don't know if this is true. I doubt it's true, but apparently it was like one of the most Googled words in Ireland at that time because I said it so confidently that everybody was like,
have I been saying that wrong my whole life?
Yeah. So all my friends are slagging me off saying that if this podcast does well, that there'll be a load of memes of all the shit I say wrong and like all the grammatical errors. And there are a lot, by the way. So anyway, I'm digressing.
I haven't noticed.
Oh, you must do. But anyway, I'm digressing. Where were we?
So, with all kind of like the work that you do.
Oh, yes. Sorry, you were asking me, does what is success defined? Do I define it differently now?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually
changed over time.
Yeah, I'm actually in this career crossroads again. So it happened the last time. It was in my late 20s. I'd worked in property and I knew the world was moving to tech, and I was like, I want to be a part of that. And I put my CV forward to a company called Salesforce, which is a phenomenal company. And naturally, they saw my CV and it was like, computer says no, because I didn't come from tech. And I almost just let that be. I was like, oh, okay. And then I remember having a shit day in work and going home and feeling, you know, when you just go home and you sit on the sofa, and I put like Coronation Street and EastEnders on. I don't watch any soaps now because I had nothing else in my life. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. So I got in touch with a guy I knew who worked there, and I was like, no, I need you to like refer me in. And he went to them and they were like, Chris, she has no experience in tech. We are not hiring her. And I owe him so much because he was like, I'm going to put my job on the line for her, because he was like, just meet her and you'll know what I mean. Yeah. And he managed to get me an interview, and I ended up getting a better job than what I was interviewing for, because they were like, whoa, we didn't expect that. And when they said to me, you don't have any experience in tech, like, why should we hire you? I remember saying to them, I was like, when I did my research on your company, you talk about solutions and you talk about that you're not selling technology anymore. You're selling solutions to help people's problems. So you have to understand people and you have to understand what they're trying to do. So good job you're not. Good job I don't have technical experience. I have people experience. And that's the point I'm trying to say is like, think about the skills that you have and the value that you bring. And there is somebody who will listen. You just have to believe in yourself and like, don't let the computer say no. So like, and then I got into tech and I had a really successful career in tech, and I'm so grateful for it. But now I'm 43. I have 2 young kids, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. I've just finished my second mat leave, which is my last mat leave. And I'm stuck. I'm really, really stuck, because for so long, that person that I'm describing defined me, and a career defined me, and like getting promoted and shocking everybody because, you know, I was this potentially absolute loser, in inverted commas, as I say it to my counselor, to like coming out from the ashes, the phoenix that you talk about. I've put myself in some situations where I could get bashed by people, and I kept going and kept going. So now it's like, okay, babies are done. Let's get childcare in, and I'm back to work, baby. And I don't want to. I
love that.
Yeah, I just don't want to.
How does that feel? Unknown?
Horrible.
Yeah.
And again, to that point, self-doubt never goes away. Fear never goes away. I'm not sitting here now talking about the past, being like, and then you become me and I'm invincible.
Yeah.
Fuck no. Actually, it gets worse because you have kids.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I've got a family to think about and I've got their future to think about. But accepting that something has physiologically and emotionally changed in me.
And that's okay. The chapters, those, sometimes I call them chapters. And if they're really big changes, I call them like, I've closed that book.
Yeah.
So like you've closed the book on that. It's not to say that you're not still I mean, look what we're doing now. You're so driven and you're so passionate and you're so hardworking. That's fucking going nowhere.
Yeah, well,
it's just what you channel it into.
Yeah, and thank you, but that I felt was going somewhere. And then you go back to the old insecure you, where you're like, what will people think? Oh, everyone's just going to be like, oh yeah, she gave up the job to be a mom. And being a mom is the hardest fucking job in the world, by the way.
Hardest one.
Hardest job in the world. Full-time mums at home, I take my hat off to you, because it is, going to work is a break. Going to the office is a break. Yeah. So nobody should underestimate. And sorry, I shouldn't say mums. I should say parents, because there is a stay-at-home dads out there as well. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the female executives that I know that are absolutely bossing it in the world, their partner has taken a step back. Mm-hmm. Because that, and again, when we say can't have it all, that's a compromise. Mark has a big job. He's under pressure. For both of us to do it, there would be compromise, right? Yeah. But also, I was kind of over the corporate bollocks a little bit. And I'm not saying it's all bollocks, but I did this business talk just before I went on mat leave. And I was sitting there, and the theme was the art of negotiation and like the skills to negotiate. And all these panelists were like talking. It was such corporate spiel. Like they had just digested and shat out the encyclopedia of like corporate world. And yes, of course, there are things that you can learn in boardrooms and in textbooks. But when it came to me, I had this moment where it was like, rip up my sheet and like throw aside. And I was like, you have to learn to negotiate with yourself, firstly, whether that's in the business world, whether that's in your personal life. You have to, and a lot of the time, I had to negotiate myself out of the rabbit hole of self-doubt and not let the voices come in and not let the blackness go. And I always talk, and I also talked about, like, when you're in the corporate world, there's a lot of talk about value, right? That you don't drop the price. You don't drop the price because you have to prove the value. And I realized I am the most valuable person to me. So I'm not dropping my price, and I am not stepping down. I am not standing down. And as I was talking on that panel, I was like, I just don't relate to what you're all talking about anymore. I'm bringing it back to people and me and women and men and empowerment and all the rest. That the urge to close the deals and sign the paper, it was just kind of gone. Yeah. But I don't want it to be all about my kids either, which is, I think, one of the reasons why I came to you about doing the pod, because I was like, I needed something. I was getting to that point where I was like very thankful for my children, but I found it hard to be at home every day singing nursery rhymes that I don't know because I'm the dictionary, and like I sing Ba Ba Black Sheep had a fucking, I don't even know what the next bit is. Like, I remember going to like a baby yoga class, and at the end, the woman texted me a video of her singing the nursery rhymes. She was like, she obviously spotted me in the class and was like,
black sheep sitting on a wall.
And she was like, I thought this might be helpful for you.
That is so cute.
Because I obviously had spent so long at work that I was like, and it was a really hard transition. But I'm sorry, I'm waffling, and this is probably so boring for people. But the point being,
it's not. It's very inspiring.
That I'm now in this moment where I don't want to work for anyone anymore, and I've known it all along for years. When you talk about manifestation and visualization, I now can connect to that because I've had dreams. I didn't think about it as visualization and manifestation back then, but I've had like these ideas, and I have on my phone, I have notes I've been taking about this podcast that I have taken on my phone 2 years ago. Yeah. Notes about businesses that I've thought about, who I want to be. But I would always convince myself that you're like born an entrepreneur. And my ex-husband was like that. He just didn't ever want to work for anybody else. And he set up some incredibly successful businesses. And if one of them failed, he's like, and he gets back up. It was the one thing I found I couldn't do. Like, I was throwing myself at all these opportunities, except on entrepreneurship, because that's the thing that frightened me the most.
You see, you strike me as an entrepreneur.
No, like, not back then, because I was so obsessed with this idea that everybody says like 95% of people fail, which they do, right? In startups, 95% of startups fail. And for me, what has driven me is not success. actually is the complete opposite. What drives me is the fear of failure. Now, some kind of therapists will say there's like some fucked up reason for that. And it's not about what other people think of me. It's like that feeling of failure inside me. It drives me rather than like,
which is why I think you strike me as an entrepreneur,
well,
because 95% fail and will give up. You ain't giving up.
Yeah.
ever.
And like the paycheck doesn't, that success, paycheck validation, none of that stuff drives me. The idea that I could fail at something drives me. But now I'm at that point where all of that stuff led up, and now I'm here, and I dipped my foot in by us starting the podcast. I know nothing about podcasting. And if anybody thinks, by the way, that it's two mates sitting on a couch and we just leave and go home, absolutely not. This is a business. What we're running is a business.
Yeah.
We have to think about marketing, socials, budgets, sponsorships, like technical stuff. Like there's so much to think about. We taught ourselves how to do it via ChatGPT and like research, and we've taught ourselves Canva. Like we're basically like marketeers.
I know.
And I'm back to that point of when I did The Apprentice of going, yes, you are capable. You just have to believe in yourself, and you just have to kind of give it a go. Like often the idea of something seems so overwhelming that you're like, oh no, I'm not going to bother. Whereas actually when you just sit down and go, okay, I'm like for this, I said, let's just have a meeting. Let me just reach out to some podcast studios and pitch the idea. Obviously most were like, fuck off. You are nobody. This is going nowhere. And then we found a studio that believed in us, and we were like, let's just go meet them. Let's just go see. And then that happens. And then like The Apprentice, I went to one audition, and then it spirals there. And that's a point, like you don't have to have all the answers, but just step in, and then the spiral and the domino effect, it will just get momentum. And before you know it, I'm a CEO of a Fortune 500, baby. That's what I'm manifesting.
That's the thing, because, sorry to interrupt, but you've said previously about maybe being a bit cynical about manifestation.
Yeah.
You're an insane manifester.
I just didn't realise it.
I think the thing that you get maybe caught up with is the fact that you're such a doer.
Yeah.
That do aspect of the triangle, you're nailing that. And that's the one area that a lot of people who try and manifest don't do.
Yeah.
They're thinking about it so much, and they're talking about it, and they're doing fuck all. Whereas you're such a doer that it's almost like the things that you'll think something and not necessarily say it because you're not really much to say it. That you think you're not manifesting, but you are.
You are. And that's the thing. And this is what I'm trying to teach myself. And I learn this from you all the time, that a lot of entrepreneurs are like, fuck it. No one can say no to me. And I saw this thing when we were talking about the growth and how thankful we are for how well Motherloading is doing so quickly. But naturally, I'm like, well, we have to retain. It's about retain. And I think like a business person.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how Steve Bartlett, I talk about him so much on this podcast.
Reach
I love
out.
you. Yeah. Come on our pad. And this whole thing of manifestation, I was having this absolute freak out going to my job the other day, which, you know, I'm at it's an amazing job, chief commercial officer. People are like, wow. And Mark had this conversation with me of saying, you know, there's no shame in not taking the big job, right? There's no shame in stepping back and just being like, I'm actually just going to work it out for a while. And that's a bit I'm struggling with, because I'm like, everyone knows me for do, go, go, go. What do you mean you're just standing still? And then I'm worried that if I stand still, because I'm worried I can't procrastinate, that I won't go anywhere, which is like doing this pod is giving me again that motivation, that push. And as I pulled into the office, I opened up LinkedIn, and the very first thing that came up was Stephen Bartlett talking about that he had done his podcast since 2017, which I never knew, in his bedroom. And he showed this graph about how many listenerships he had. None. And he was saying that they got the most subscribers in the last 90 days than they've had in the last 900 days. And basically, like, if you're doing content or you're doing anything in life, do it because you love it. And that's what you see yourself doing in the next 10 years. I have just got to the point where I don't see myself working for somebody else in the next 10 years. I want to be in the boss now. I want to be in
100%.
charge of my life. I want to be able to have flexibility that I can be there for my kids when I need to be. Obviously, if a business does well, you're under pressure. Running your own business is fucking hard, but I do it on my terms.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of, throughout the years, there's been a level of imposter syndrome, which I am accepting now that no, it's not. I used to say, I fake it till I make it. I fake it till you make it, baby. And I realize now I really don't like that saying, because you're not faking it.
No.
You're just throwing yourself into something you don't know. You're learning, you're working really hard, and then you're achieving. If you're actually faking it, you're never going to make it, right?
Yeah.
So I was almost like diluting my value in the sense. So now and that's why I always thought like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. I'm not an entrepreneur, and oh, what if I fail? And weirdly, it's the riskiest time ever in my life to want to take the plunge, because I have kids. Why wasn't I doing it when I was 26, sitting on the fucking sofa after a rage of a weekend watching Coronation Street in EastEnders? Like I was capable back then. Why wasn't I doing it? And then again, as you talk about self-reflection, I have to
divine timing.
A divine timing. I have to believe that all of that journey brought me to where I'm at.
It has.
And I just wasn't ready, obviously, back then. And I'm ready now. Maybe I'm ready. And I have the support of my partner. I have to believe that my kids, I'll make it work, because that's what I do. And that's what I keep saying to myself. And Mark said it to me yesterday. He was like, your sense of failure, your fear of failure means you never fail. In the end, you fail along the way and you have dips or whatever. He was like, and when you fail, you're like, fuck this, I've got a point to prove. And you go again. And somebody, I'm not going to say who, said to me about 3 weeks ago, I mean, the podcast's a bit of fun, right? I mean, you're never, ever going to make anything from it. You're never going to like make money, or, you have I mean, you don't really believe you're going to do anything with all of this, do you? I literally was like, and like, if anyone's not watching, I am like staring at Michelle with death eyes. And I'm like, I literally looked at them, and in my head, I was like, you fucking watch me. It's people like you that keeps my fire burning and motivates me. And yeah, and I want my kids to be proud of me, and I want me to be proud of me. I want to be there for them. It may not bring in the big paycheck that I had before. I'm trying to accept that on what changes we have to make in our life.
If you work on, and a lot of people will say, how do I figure out my purpose? How do I figure out what I'm supposed to be doing? You work at your highest excitement. That's it. So you work on things that light you up, that excite you, that make you like giddy to go and do it.
Yeah.
That then, again, I'm an energy girl. That puts out like such a magnificent energy out there, that everything that you want to come from it does come from it.
Yeah.
I learn a lot from you about how you work, because I think I'm very much like I'm working on my highest excitement and I'm just floating along.
You do flow. I love it though.
Like, I was saying to my best friend yesterday at pickup, she was saying, oh, I'm like 3 episodes into listening, like you and Nicky work so well, like we're different, but it works so well. And I was like, listen, if Nicky was not sailing that ship, it would not leave the harbour. She was like, true.
But that is true. I'm not gonna lie. But it wouldn't be where do I go with this analogy now? It wouldn't be a fucking great ship. Like it wouldn't be the Prince Royal, because you have visions and you dream, and where I do allow myself to be cynical sometimes, or allow self-doubt, and often it's just a process I go through, and I on my own I will find my way back. You were always like, why can't we? No. And you're so positive, and you're so authentically driven and imaginative and creative, and you are unapologetically yourself, and that's what I love about you. And I think as you get older, they're the type of friendships and people you want in your life, the people, and you never judge. I have never ever, like, you'll say they're an asshole because you think they're an asshole. Like, but you don't ever judge people, and you make people, that saying, and I tell my kids this all the time, that, and I often used to think about this when I was doing like work presentations. Nobody remembers what you said, right? So people who suffer anxiety, they leave, oh, I said this, I said that. And we're all guilty. Like, you know, have you ever seen that meme where you wake up, the 20-year-old you wake up with a hangover and you're like, fuck yeah, I peed in my knickers.
No.
You've peed in your knickers 10 minutes ago just from laughing.
I coughed and I was like, shit.
And then you're like, oh, I snogged 3 guys and I fucked this. And then like 43-year-old you the next day, you're like, oh my God, I told him mum, I called my kid an asshole in front of mum and I said this. And then you have all this parent anxiety. And did I invite them to the birthday party? And did I wrap that present okay? And like all of that stuff. That, sorry, now I've totally lost my train of thought. Where were we going with that? Okay, take it back. The biggest thing is not what you've said to people, it's how you've made them feel.
I used that as my opening sentence to my dissertation.
Do you really? And you're that person, that energy you have. I remember the first time I met you and I walked away and you stayed with me. Aww. And remember when I came to you and I said I was like, I know there are people you are closer to, or maybe that we've known longer in our lives, but it felt like it was you. It had to be you, you know.
Thanks, Nikki.
Yeah,
right back at you.
Love you.
I love you
and
too.
I hope people get that sense. I mean, people might have listened to this and be like, "Could they talk about themselves anymore?" Yawn. But we've had loads of feedback. The reason we had this discussion is because how many texts and voice notes and messages have we got where it's women who are like, instead of listening to a traditional pod, which is either like people being really funny and like talking about pop culture and like going from one topic to another and quippy, fun, or like Jay Shetty, who's like getting so deep that I just don't have the headspace for it sometimes. Yeah. People are describing us as like having a glass of wine or a cup of tea with their mate.
Yeah, relatable. Keep getting the word relatable.
Yeah, and like I got one message saying that this one woman had a really bad day and she really needed some company, and she kind of texted around a load of mum mates and they were like, oh no, sorry, we're busy. And she said she just pulled up into a car park and put on our pod.
I love that.
Yeah, because she was like, I just felt like I was being able to vent to my mum friends, and I think that's why we wanted to do this, so that our friends, you're all our friends, know a bit more about us, and that like it's not all straight hair and
baggy, wearing your boyfriend's tracksuit.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to learn the dictionary, maybe we'll add that to one of the manifestations. Maybe I can actually create an entire language of my own. Okay, well, if you want to call us dicks, then email motherloadingpodcast@gmail.com and we'll put you in the bucket with, what's his name? Danny James. We'll put you in the bucket with Danny James.
Yeah.
But if you'd like to be our mate, then join us in Motherloading. Please join us on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Send us an email. Send us a DM.
Keep sending in questions. We love them.
Yes. Oh my God. We get the best questions and stories, and we're doing an episode on that.
That's the next episode.
Yeah. All right. Love you, babe.
Love you.